A buyer strategy meeting is essentially preparing your clients for best success through every step of the transaction. This is something that I state as just a natural part of the process to purchasing a home. And you'd be surprised, even if somebody's bought and sold 5 homes in the last 10 years, they're likely still very uneducated. Yes, they made it to the closing table, but were they as prepared as they could be? Probably not. So I start with approaching this. You've probably naturally had a couple conversations of what they're looking for in a home, general timeline, whether it's just via text, social media, or if it's an online lead. You might be a little bit of a colder approach. But regardless, plan to sit down and kind of go through the steps and get an idea of what they're looking for. But let's approach this training as if you already have a decent understanding of what they're looking for and where they're looking for a new home. So, how to schedule this appointment. To close an appointment, I like to throw out a couple of time frames. So rather than asking, hey, let me know when you're free, I'll throw out, hey, so it sounds like evenings are better for you. You got out of work at 5. Let's say we get together at 5:30. We can meet near you. Does 5:30 on Tuesday or 5:30 on Thursday work better for you? And just state the expectation that you are going to be meeting and just make that a little bit flexible for when they're available. Once you're sitting down in front of them, I have a full buyer's guide that's kind of a step-by-step template for going through it to make sure I don't miss any points. Naturally, when you're in a conversation with a human being, you're going to go down some rabbit holes, you're going to have questions about a particular topic, and you might get a little bit sidetracked. So sometimes you might spend a ton of time talking about inspections because that's a pain point for that particular client, and you realize you've run out of time or you haven't touched on appraisals at all. And now when you hit that point in the transaction, if there's an issue with an appraisal, you haven't mentioned it at all, and it's brand new information to your client. So getting ahead of objections, educating on what to expect is all going to be really, really important and crucial for a smooth process. So setting the appointment, you're there, you're in front of them. I have a whole buyer's guide that's going to explain my history, my background, whether I have admin or team support, education about how many homes we've sold, and kind of just a little bit about myself. I'm not reading this entire buyer's guide to a potential client. It's a tool and a resource that makes you stand out amongst other agents because not every agent is going to have something like this for them to follow along and take home with them. So having a resource that makes you stand out on its own is going to be valuable. And of course, having that information inside of that guide to be very valuable is going to be the next step. So we have a template that can be personalized, have that background bio about you, what you bring to a transaction, and again, that take-home resource for them to be able to reflect back on. And if they have further questions, and again, it's a lot of information, so if they don't remember everything, they can at least go back and have a little bit of reading material to touch on things.